weapons, but they have not determined whether they can deliver those. I mean, there's a lot of logistics. They could probably hit Guam. They couldn't go any farther than that. They don't have whatever it is that protects the warhead as it goes down through the atmosphere. So a lot of that stuff is kind of status quo. I mean, they've gotten some confirmation, but not the confirmation, all the confirmation they need. Nothing happened to set Trump off. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And he is just, I mean, I want to credit him with trying to distract us from, what's going on with the Mueller investigation and Russia. It looks now like the Guardian's reporting that it looks like the White House is trying to track down the Steele report itself, trying to get to that information before Mueller or anybody else does. So, this is really literally a pissing match. And these are two men with these guys. I mean, one of the things I think we've really seen in this last week are how many similarities there are between Trump and Kim Jong-il or whatever.
Well, and also with Maduro down in Venezuela.
Yes, and that is just kookaboo. We're going to attack Venezuela?
You know why? And it's I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen anyone talk about this in the news. But one of my guesses as to why Trump is putting that on the table is because you remember during the Iraq War, his big call to arms was we should go in there and take their oil.
Yeah.
Well, who has oil in this
Venezuela
hemisphere?
has a shit ton,
there
the biggest
we go.
reserve.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
of course.
If it was any other South American country eating itself from the inside, he could give a rat's ass. But Venezuela has oil, and I think when you talk about the similarities between Trump and Kim Jong-un and Maduro, it's he doesn't want to be the big dog of the dictators. He wants to be the only dog.
Yeah, well, he's really putting himself in a position to just really screw this country even more. I mean, with everything, he's going after McConnell. He's he couldn't get health care done, and they basically, and that's his base.
Yeah,
they're going to find out. I mean, he can't keep this up. They're going to go down kicking and screaming, but they're going to find
out.
There's that mentality that, when Scaramucci during his brief tenure was in, I think it was in the, his call to Ryan Lizza, said a fish rots from the top.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to say everyone who would be taken out by his investigation into leaks, except for the people at the top.
Right. Yeah. God, there's so many things that are wrong with this whole situation. Oh God, now I can't even think. Why did I even start talking?
Why did you start talking?
Damn it, I had an idea.
And I had an idea, but then you started talking and I lost it.
Damn it. Well, let me just say this. We can probably shoot down the most advanced missiles that, Soviet era, high technology. But is it possible that these North Korean missiles are so wonky, so funky, that it throws our systems off because they come in too slow? Yeah. There was this...
That's a terrifying...
That we're going to be beaten by low tech.
There was an outfielder who just a couple weeks ago pitched an inning, and the batters couldn't deal with it because he was pitching at like 50 miles an hour, and they're used to 80, 90. Is it possible that they'll see these slow-moving missiles coming towards Guam, and our systems are trying to blow up something?
Our systems are going to say, man, those birds are fast.
Yes.
But just birds.
Yeah. But the whole thing is just, like you said, a pissing match. And yet, he always has defenders. He always has people like, finally we got somebody talking tough.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say, though. We keep talking about Trump's base, but we got to remember that this is a very small part of the sliver of the population. Even these a-holes in Charlottesville right now, it's a tiny portion, and his base is dwindling, and I just think that we can't
it'll
pay
go,
any attention to this.
It's going to go up, though.
But, it's funny you say that because remember, they kept saying Obama didn't do all this tough talk, and he drew a line and all this stuff. Now, you got a jackass in there saying these things. And then you say, oh, no, shut up. Don't say that. Don't do this. Don't do that. Because now you're worried that the guy who was trying to give you diplomacy, you didn't like him, and this is what you got. Yeah. And now you're like, what the fuck did we do? Yeah.
Well, it's like I'm constantly saying, people claim they voted for Trump because they wanted change, and there is not a rabid bobcat in your pants right now clawing at your genitals. If there were, well, that would be change, wouldn't it? And that's, I get you want change, but you have to figure out what kind of change. To identify a problem is not enough. You got to identify solutions.
This administration, Trump has shown to be all about the status quo, and any kind of change is the change back to things that were already dead and gone and buried. Let's Klansmen and big oil and coal jobs It's just like this world no longer exists. Now, I'm not saying that white supremacy doesn't exist. Of course it does. But it is not the majority. The majority of this country is not racist in that way. I mean, but
I'm not so sure.
Really?
Yeah, but the thing is, they're going to get thrown in with the deplorables, okay? Because they kept saying, oh, no, don't call them deplorables. Well, guess what? You got this guy in here. You were worried about Hillary. You were worried about who's the criminal? He had criminals. He's sitting in the house. These guys
surrounded by criminals.
And they're money criminals.
Oh, and also, I'm loving his whole legal team or lack thereof. The guy is not lawyering up very well. He's got very sketchy attorneys on his team. And
although if you're an optimist working at the law firm of Cellino and Barnes, you're sitting by that phone waiting for it to ring.
Yeah.
But, he isn't lawyering up with, attorneys who are well-versed in tax law and so on and so forth. So he's about to get his ass reamed by Mueller, and he doesn't even have his pants on right now.
Every time somebody in the administration misspells something, that's what
the boss gets her wings.
That's what he's surrounded himself with is incompetent ass kissers, and not the smarter Republicans, which I hate to admit that there might be some smart Republicans.
Well, there are definitely smarter Republicans than the ones that are currently running the show.
Yeah.
Kelly,
Kelly in the past week has proven himself to be ineffectual, and I'll let you get to your point in just a sec. But this is one of the things, because Erika, you were talking about Trump's base and how they really are a minority and not nearly oppressed enough of a minority. But the base, in my mind, isn't so much the problem as his enablers. Paul Ryan this morning tweeted something about, how Nazis and their values are repugnant. It's like, yo, jackass, this shit is nothing new. This has been going on, and you smiled and nodded and said, oh, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
Doing everything you could not to address the problem and to get this motherfucker elected. It is too late.
Yeah.
It falls on deaf ears for the enablers within the government.
Yeah.
The people that had the power to stop this before it got this bad and to point out why this is bad, but also they missed the opportunity to point out what makes them different than these fucking Nazis marching in Virginia. And if there is no difference, maybe that's why.
It has always been thus. It has always been thus. For us to go and look at the logic and the reasoning and try to point out hypocrisy on the right is to just simply tilt at windmills. There's, all of it is just like a chimera of, I'm not going to use the big words, but you know what I'm saying? It's just a fucking illusion.
Yeah.
There's nothing about, there's nowhere to go there. You know, and I know I keep banging this drum on this show, and I come in here and I go, we got to stop talking about the things that Trump says. We've got to stop being outraged that these people are liars and hypocrites. It's like we just have to assimilate that truth and find a way forward from there.
But you know
not
what?
assimilate, not accept it. And not call them out.
But it's
please
kind of like,
stop with the outrage around it.
But
you know
it's kind of like the Colin Kaepernick thing, okay?
Yeah.
These are the same people who are going apeshit because he took a knee
yeah.
for police violence.
Yeah.
But they're claiming he's going out against his flag, but yet you're not trying to stop this. You got white nationalists out there forming. Where are those same people? This guy took a knee.
Yeah.
That's it. He just took a knee to say, hey, you've been shooting brothers with their hands up. This needs to stop. You claim that you're not like this, but now you got this group. And it's not just 5 of them. It's 100. There's hundreds of them.
Murderers like Ray Lewis and you know, dog fighting pricks like Michael Vick, you know, who have the balls to say, oh yeah, he shouldn't have taken the knee, and it's like, really.
Yeah.
You know, is what he's doing. Please elucidate on how what he is doing is worse than what you did.
Right. And wait a minute. And trust me, black folks roasted their ass for that. It came out on Twitter like, you punk motherfuckers. You know, they really got in their butt about that. But this is what I'm talking about. What, you know, over here, this is okay. You can't do this. Yeah.
By the way, I am boycotting the NFL. But no one tell them that I was already boycotting them for the brain injuries. I've told my brother, you know, all right,
well,
I won't watch.
You could tell them; they won't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I'm just looking at Twitter over here while you guys are talking about whatever, and that car was being driven into a crowd of anti-racists. So it was them, not us.
Oh boy.
Well, just leave it to the Nazis to adopt the tactics of the terrorists that they truly are deep inside.
I mean, that's terrifying.
To address your point, though, Erika, I understand. I understand the idea of being opposed to outrage over what Trump says.
No, I'm not opposed to outrage.
Well,
I think the outrage is appropriate. I just think that talking about it it gives me this reaction of like we're stuck in the mud and our wheels are spinning. That's what I'm saying.
I understand that, but I think it has to be constantly mentioned. People need to know, what he is doing. It's the whole idea of reminding people this is not normal.
Yeah.
And like accepting it as the present reality is one thing. We all have to do that. It is the reality in which we live. Liking it though is and learning how to live with it is another thing altogether.
See, I mean, I think that what we need to be talking about is, like, where is our leadership on this? Where is the counterpunch? Who is going to step forward on the left? I'm not even going to say Democrats. Anybody who can step forward and say something and offer some succor and some guidance in this dark hour will have a grateful nation behind them. I mean, we are a party looking for leadership, and we keep being given these moments where our president is completely falling down on the job, and there's a vacuum of leadership here. Where is that person or persons?
Well, it seems like they're all tied into the corporations and the money and the what's not. Because the people have been speaking out for the longest. I always say this when we're on here, we're this superpower. We're this major country, and yet we don't have health care for our people.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no reason in the world that you can't have it, but that the average man should not be able to go out and get some good health care without going broke.
Yeah.
But then again, the average man should be able to buy a house. Remember the American dream? That was that.
Oh, yeah.
The American dream. Buy a home. White picket fence. Backyard. Barbecue. Everybody. But that was a 50s thing.
So somehow you have to either outnumber the Republican conservative group or convince them of what is actually true, which is that, yeah, your life is better if you have health insurance. But literally, you have people who are relying on Obamacare and hate Obama,
Yes.
love Trump, voted for Trump,
Yes.
and then don't want to lose their health care.
Yes.
How?
But
it's, you know,
but
it's,
wait a minute, because that was the same white folks who would say that I don't want to be no welfare